Hello. Hi. Sama, Nasri.
We're on air, so you know. I should put a sticker.
Yeah.
Good? Alright, that's better.
Good to see you too.
We're going to start today's rally with a speech by Robbie Thorpe. Robbie Thorpe, everyone should know Robbie Thorpe's name. He is an awesome activist. He is an Aboriginal man who's been fighting for his people, but not just that, fighting for all the oppressed. He's been standing with refugees, with the Palestinians, with all different groups for as long as he can remember. He wanted me to say in 1972, his first demonstration was standing with the Palestinian people. So please, give Robbie Thorpe a massive welcome.
Yeah, welcome to Crime Scene Victoria, folks.
I lost it.
That's what it is. It's Crime Scene Australia. And we've got 250 years of unchecked genocide going on here. Don't forget that. Because Australia is a great source of support for Israel, economically and militarily, as you can see. They're complicit in the genocide that's going on over there. So it's important to stop them here. Something we can do. It's a lot harder to do something to affect what's going overseas. We can do something here. Got a lot of places where they're producing military arms here, right in our own backyard. You know, we can stop them. Here, us. Anyway, I just want to say, don't give up this fight. Don't ever give it up. And where do we go? If we give up on the fight of genocide, you just can't do it. To keep fighting. We owe it to our ancestors. We owe it to this land. We owe it to our children's children. And we can never give it up. Despite how many of us are there. So I just want to say thank you for this whole year that you've stood up time and time again. Just don't let it go. We need to keep coming in until we sort it out, big time. Palestine has really put it on the map this year. The crime of genocide. Now genocide just doesn't happen. It's calculated, it's premeditated, it's planned, plotted and schemed. And Australia's right behind it. And they talk about flags that you can wave around here. Well, the red, white and blue flag is the biggest terrorist flag you could ever imagine. They call it the butcher's apron for a reason. It's what it is. So it's important to understand this history here. 250 years of unchecked genocide. We went from 100% of the population to 1% of the population. That's genocide. It's still going on today. Forced removal of our children, deaths in custody, creating the conditions of life with intent to destroy. In fact, if you look at that 1948 convention, the Convention for the Prevention and Punishment for the Crime of Genocide, Australia is guilty of everything in it. Everything. Prove me wrong. Because you can't. I know it's true. So, Australia's just a hell of a crime scene. And what I want to do is remind you, Monday week, not tomorrow, but next Monday, we have a court case against the Federal Attorney General in the Federal Court up here, corner of Latrobe and William Street at the Federal Court. Right? Australia's been hiding behind a fiat that he holds. If we want to engage the Genocide Convention, we need to go through this dual citizen, who was an Israeli-Australian citizen. He's also a Zionist. So that court case is going to happen there next Monday. So if you want to come along, well, that's the 11th of November. And then on the 10th of December, which is Human Rights Day, we have a case against Mark Redjev. I know people know who he is, but he's an advisor to the Netanyahu government. Formerly, he used to advise his war cabinet. He's also an Australian citizen and an Israeli citizen as well. Don't leave this criminal state out of it, folks, where we all live here. This is our land. We never ceded our sovereignty. We didn't give consent for anybody to be here. We're not a part of your constitution. That was rejected, right? In your voice bullshit. We don't want to be a part of your constitution. We've already got law. These mindless people here haven't got law. They make it up as they go. Right? Anyway, we have survived. That's why don't ever give up, folks. We will win this. The truth is the weapon. Just don't give up this fight. Because we don't fight, we lose. Right? I want to say thank you for putting it out there. These governments are weak, morally, ethically, spiritually and legally. All we've got to do is stand up to them and they'll fall over because they're gutless and they're weak. So keep up the fight, folks, and don't ever give it up.
Always was, always will be. Louder, always was, always will be. Come on, always was, it always will be. One of the most beautiful moments in this movement for me was coming to a demonstration early this year and seeing that someone had the wonderful idea of coming up with the joint flag of the Palestinian and the Indigenous flag joined together on a placard. That is a symbol of development, of education, of learning that the struggles for justice are united all around the world. And Robbie Thorpe himself embodies that, and a lifetime of struggles. So give him a round of applause. And he is just one. He is just one of a whole group of Indigenous people who've done so much for so many others, striving for justice in this country. And it can be hard in Australia to understand sometimes that we live in a country with apartheid features, that is racist to its core. When you're in suburban Melbourne, it can be invisible, but it's not invisible, and it should not be to anyone fighting for a better world. You just have to look in the prisons. You just have to look in the schools, the inequality of funding from the elite to the public schools where Indigenous people mostly go. You just have to look in the Northern Territory and Queensland and all around this country where Aboriginal kids are being locked up. Shame! And the Labor Party and the Liberal Party, heartless beasts that they are playing political games with locking up children as young as 10 and 12. Shame! And we know that these children are not Anglo-Saxon children. They are overwhelmingly Indigenous children. So we fight for justice for all, and we will continue to do so. And there is a Palestinian word, well, it's an Arabic word, but the Palestinians really own it. It's called sumud. It means steadfastness in struggle. It means standing up and fighting against all odds and never giving up, as Robbie said. And that is something that Robbie and the Aboriginal people of this country have shown, and that is something the Palestinians have shown, and that is something we have learnt and will continue to be learning until we have justice. So let's join the chants together. Always was, always will be, from the river to the sea. Always was, always will be. From the river to the sea. Always was, always will be. From the river to the sea. Always was and always will be. From the river to the sea. Thank Thank you, comrades. All right, our next speaker is Jeff Sparrow. Jeff is a writer, a journalist, an editor. He is speaking because on the theme of the media and the coverage of the media, of the war in Gaza and Lebanon by the Australian and American media, but also by Israel's systematic murder of journalists who dare to try and cover the truth. We have a comrade dressed up in the theme of today. The press, the attacks on Palestinian journalists in Gaza are unprecedented. Never in a war have so many journalists been killed. And yet, journalists around the world, the mainstream media, are silent on this crime, yet another crime. So please welcome Jeff Sparrow, a long-time spokesperson for the Palestinian people and the left in Australia.
Thanks, Omar, and thanks, Robbie. So the Second World War lasted for 6 years, and the general estimate is in that time 69 journalists were killed. The numbers vary slightly depending on how you do the counting. The Vietnam War lasted for 2 decades or so. Again, the usual estimate is in that war 63 journalists died. The war in Gaza has been raging for slightly over a year, and the best estimate I could find was 183 journalists have been killed. But that might be wrong because the number is changing daily. And there are all kinds of horrific statistics coming out of the Gaza genocide, but this is another one. By way of comparison, we can say that in just over a year, Israel has killed more journalists who died in the First World War, the Second World War, the Vietnam War, and the Korean War combined. And the horrific events in Gaza have inspired some of the best journalism in the world and some of the worst journalism in the world. And I want to start by talking about the bad journalism because I think a lot of us will be very familiar with it. Over the last year or so, we've learned more and more about the local media. We've become more familiar with a number of journalists, senior journalists, like senior politicians, who have accepted paid propaganda trips to Israel. And I'll probably get this wrong, but the accounting for the senior newspaper editors who have accepted these trips in the past runs like this. The editors at the Sydney Morning Herald, the Age, the Australian, the Daily Telegraph, the Guardian, and many more. And that's just one symptom of the appalling garbage we've seen. We've learned that many media outlets simply do not regard Palestinians as human beings. And the evidence of that is you only have to think about how the deaths of thousands of Palestinian children are reported compared to how the deaths of, say, thousands of American children would be reported. But many outlets accept a notion of objectivity that balances, on the one hand, the facts of a genocide, and against that, on the other hand, the feelings of those who might be upset if you call a genocide a genocide. We've learned that many outlets, not all, but many outlets refuse to call things by their proper names. They don't use words like occupation. They don't use terms like ethnic cleansing, apartheid, or genocide. We've learned that sub-editors instinctively reach for the passive voice when describing events in Gaza and Lebanon. So we get headlines that read, Palestinian men carrying white flags are shot at, which is entirely factual, but it leaves out one salient detail, the identity of the people doing the shooting. And we could go on and on. We could talk about the editors who are outraged in their editorials when it's suggested that Israel might deliberately target a hospital in Gaza and then say nothing for months after months after month as every healthcare facility in Gaza is systematically destroyed. I would say, however, that what we are seeing is an increasing polarisation within the media between the people who are at the top of these organisations and the many rank and file journalists who are increasingly disgusted with the coverage. You might have recently seen that within the BBC, hundreds of BBC employees have just signed an open letter protesting against the BBC's coverage. There's been a similar letter in the United States focused on CNN, and there was one here in Australia signed by some 140 media workers. And I'd ask you to think about that if you're talking to journalists here. Many of them are disgusted at the coverage that their outlets are engaged in, and many of them are active inside the journalist union, the MEAA, trying to fight for a better way. But what I really wanted to talk about is not the bad journalism, but the phenomenal journalism. The phenomenal journalism that we have seen coming out of Gaza from Palestinian journalists. You will probably know that Israel does not allow foreign journalists into Gaza. I don't often quote police, but you know, there's a saying they have, if you've done nothing wrong, you don't have anything to hide. In Gaza, that means that the people responsible for documenting the atrocities are the Palestinian journalists, and they've been doing so in almost impossible conditions, with their offices destroyed, with their communications disrupted, with almost no equipment, and under the constant threat of physical violence. I quoted before that statistic of 183 journalists killed. That is 10% of the population of media staff, media workers in Gaza have been killed. Many, many more have been injured. The Committee to Protect Journalists documents the names and identities of journalists systematically targeted by Israel and then murdered. They also document those journalists who have been detained by the Israelis and then disappeared inside these Israeli gulags. Nevertheless, despite those impossible conditions, Palestinian journalists continue to work. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the story of the Al Jazeera Gaza bureau chief who was live on air reporting when he learned that almost the entirety of his extended family had been killed in an Israeli airstrike. And he continued to report even as that news was broken to him. And the reason why he did it was because getting the truth out matters. And that, I think, is tremendously important, because it's because of the courage of people like that that we know what has been happening in this genocide. No one can say now that they weren't aware. No one can say that they didn't know. The truth is available if you want to find it. And I think of something that George Orwell said in the 1930s, surrounded by the genocidal regimes of his time. He said, if you wanted to know what was happening in Stalinist Russia or Nazi Germany, you knew. If you want to know what's happening in Gaza, you know. And I think that perhaps can shape how we act towards the media today. Because actually, it's not that we lack information. We have the information. What we need is power. And what's really important now is not better media coverage, but this kind of mobilisation all around the world, The solidarity of ordinary people is what will bring down Israeli apartheid. The solidarity of ordinary people is what will end the apartheid regime, and it's the solidarity of ordinary people that means one day the newspapers of the world, like it or not, will have to run a single headline, and that headline will say, Palestine is free.
From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the sea to the river! Palestine will live forever! From the sea to the river! Palestine will live forever! Thanks so much to our drumming crew, always bring the energy. And thank you to Jeff. It is absolutely true that all the political and media class in this country know what is going on, and they stand by and either watch or facilitate it very, very consciously. Just a small story from my local area. In the local council elections in Whittlesea, the Labor Party ran a former HR exec for Lockheed Martin to represent the people of Thomastown. These people are scum, and that kind of credential qualifies her very well to be a representative of the Labor Party, but it does not qualify her to be representative of the people. And we will keep fighting until we have a political system that reflects us and not the Labor and Liberal parties. All right, I just want to make a couple of announcements. The marshals are requesting a bit of assistance. If you are free today to help out, to the back of the rally, they need some support. Find somebody with a yellow armband. Next Sunday, we have an awesome lineup and a very important theme. It is going to be a joint rally with some Sudanese activists highlighting the links between the struggles of Palestine and Sudan. Next Sunday, that's going to be a theme. As well, we have some very special speakers. Fatima Payman is going to be coming to Melbourne and speaking about the Labor Party and the support for Palestine. Marine Faruqi is going to be coming to Melbourne and speaking about the difficulties in Parliament, but the importance in standing up and fighting there. And Randa Abdel Fattah is going to be speaking as a Palestinian advocate, leader on the movement. So these are very important speakers, and it's going to be a very important day. So next Sunday, please be there. Our next speaker is Tahani. Tahani is a Lebanese Muslim woman born in Australia. She's a mother, and she's spent the last 12 months or more helping to support newly arrived people from Gaza. Please make her feel welcome, Tahani.
We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, as well as all First Nations people with us today. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded, this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Tahani and I'm a proud Lebanese Muslim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change that which is within themselves. Our ummah is one body. If one part feels pain, then the whole body feels pain. And we are feeling the pain of our brothers and sisters in Palestine and in Lebanon. I was once terrified of public speaking until I began to witness the Holocaust of the Palestinian people. And now I am terrified of silence. The same silence that has enabled the slaughter of children in Gaza, children just like ours. Every single day for the past year, more than 40 Palestinian children have been killed by the terrorist state of Israel. Their suffering part of 76 years of deliberate ethnic cleansing. I refuse to sit in silence while the world continues to devalue, abandon and murder our children. And now Israel's war against children has escalated, extending to Lebanon. With the massacre of our innocent men, women and children, and the destruction of our most ancient and sacred sites. Shame! Israel's terrorist attacks have claimed over 3,000 lives in Lebanon. Shame! 3,000 beating hearts. They have wounded thousands and displaced over 1.2 million people. Once again, they threaten to tear our lives and our land apart. With over 250,000 Lebanese here in Australia, now is the time to be loud. Our children are watching and they deserve to see us honouring their lives and their identity. We will never forget we survived 22 years of Israeli occupation in the south and the 1982 invasion, the suffering that scarred us, and from that suffering rose our resistance, reclaiming our land stone by stone and inch by inch. As long as occupation exists, so will the resistance, because the children of today are the descendants of those whose lives they slaughtered, whose souls they destroyed, and whose memories they tried to erase. And when we resist, the West labels us as terrorists, crafting a narrative that serves their purpose. Here in Australia, they have worked hard to dehumanise us, to devalue and erase what it means to be Lebanese. But we know who we are. Our words flow like poetry. Every conversation ends with a prayer. Our embrace is warm, our goodbyes are long, and our loyalty runs deep. We are the first to offer help, the first to give, even if it means we go without. I grew up in a home that had very little, yet we had everything that mattered. My parents are the richest poor people you'll ever meet. My 77-year-old father will welcome you into his own home with open arms, cooking the beans he's harvested from his own backyard and watch you eat. He'll watch until you take your last bite, even though he hasn't eaten a thing all day. My mother's words are wise and loving. We had identity, we had love, acceptance and forgiveness. We had compassion and empathy, we had humanity. All of that breeds both a gentle kindness and a fierce resilience. To be Lebanese is to carry the weight of that resilience deep in your soul. It means surviving displacement and hardship, yet standing tall with grace. Through colonisation, occupation and invasion, our identity is endurance passed down through generations. Since the beginning of the Nakba in 1948, we have stood shoulder to shoulder with our Palestinian brothers and sisters. Their struggle is our struggle. We share more than borders, we share grief, hope and resistance. We believe with every fibre of our being that no people should live under oppression. To be Lebanese is to know that solidarity is not a choice, it is a duty. I asked a recently arrived brother from Gaza what our solidarity meant for him, and this is what he said. When we arrived here, with no room left in our hearts for joy and no space for life, we found them extending their hands to us. It was as if we were in a dark pit with no way out, and they became the path, the light and the way forward, helping us to begin our new life together. Little did he know that he was healing us too. To be Lebanese is to leave the comfort of your home at dawn, your children fast asleep, to welcome a newly arrived family from Gaza. It's the single mother who spends her last dollar contributing towards a car for a recently arrived family so they can support theirs. It's the sister who shows up every Sunday, Quran in hand, silently screaming for a free Palestine. It's the brother who offers dignified work to a young father, empowering him to support his family. It's the young mother who takes her twins to school, her toddler to childcare, and then pickets at a weapons manufacturer determined to disrupt the war machine. It's the mother of 5 who supports a Palestinian mother and her 5-year-old boy on his first day of kinder. A boy so deeply traumatised he no longer speaks after being buried under the rubble for hours. To be Lebanese is to fiercely advocate, protect and support these families in their time of need, making sure they know they belong here. It's to speak up when our governments fail us, and our government has failed us. This is the biggest ethical failure of our time. And to our government, whilst you may not be around for it, your children and your children's children will bear the weight of your shame. For over a year, we've stood side by side right here with strangers whose names we may never know. Our Lebanese fathers have carried their children on their shoulders every single week as they scream for the children of Palestine. And in these gatherings, I see the best of humanity, the diversity, the non-Arabs, the teachers, the students, the healthcare workers, our Jewish brothers and sisters, those of you who stand with us every single week in your words and in your actions, speaking truth to power, because truth always prevails and humanity is universal. For every child whose laughter was silenced, for every home reduced to rubble, for every ancient olive tree and sacred site destroyed, we will raise our voices. Being Lebanese means we mourn but we never surrender. We grieve but we rise again and again with kindness in our hearts and strength in our steps. It is community, it's love. And like the cedar, our branches may grow in different directions, but our roots will always remain the same.
What a wonderful speech. There was news this morning that Israeli commandos landed in Lebanon overnight and kidnapped a Lebanese figure and stole him, and we have no idea where he is. And this is from the north of Lebanon. The media reporting of this attack, this invasion, this kidnapping, this hostage taking by the Israelis is what a creative and bold move by the IOF. Like, this is ridiculous. It is incredible. When the Palestinians kidnap Israelis, it is a war crime, supposedly, and yet when Israel kidnaps Lebanese and Palestinians, it is a remarkable act of self-defense. The hypocrisy of these people is disgusting. One announcement I forgot to make is there are these fundraising buckets going around for Free Palestine Melbourne. This movement is broad. There are so many actions happening all around the city. Free Palestine Melbourne is helping to fund them all, as well as these Sunday rallies. Please give so that the movement can continue. Please give generously. Okay. Our next speaker is Jasmine Duff. She is the national convener, co-convener of Students for Palestine. She was recently arrested as part of, I think, over 100 other people now for her involvement in the Disrupt Land Forces protests. People should remember the Land Forces Conference was a state-funded and hosted event to celebrate the international weapons machinery. And a bunch, thousands of brave people put their bodies on the line to disrupt that murder, the festival of murder that event was, hosted by the Victorian government and the Labor Party. Now they are being punished for standing up. We need to stand with them. There are over 100. Please make Jasmine welcome.
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free.
So last week, early in the morning, 5 police officers came to my house. They insisted on coming in without a warrant. They came into my bedroom and they handcuffed me, all for the crime of protesting against a weapons convention. Shame! Shame! I'm one of many, many people who have now been arrested for protesting land forces, but also for other important disruptive actions, which were valuable because we need to, as much as we can, continue to disrupt the war machine. All of the people who have been arrested and who are facing charges, we here today, all of us, should try to make those people feel not isolated, not alone, but like they are part of a movement. Are we all part of a shared movement? Now these kinds of police attacks, of state repression on activists are not the only tactic that is being used right now to intimidate those who stand with Palestine. The forces who stand with Israel have a lot of tactics under their belt. They have the tactic, the rhetoric of social cohesion. Shame! Shame! Spreading the idea that standing against a war is a threat to the social fabric of our society. They weaponize accusations of anti-Semitism, and they've just run an inquiry into anti-Semitism on university campuses, which repeatedly references anyone who hands out or puts up a sticker supporting Palestine. This is an example, according to them, of anti-Semitism. Do we believe that? Yeah. They use media smear campaigns and they use university discipline. So right now in Sydney, we've just had 2 members of Students for Palestine who've been suspended for breaking a new policy that was brought in to suppress Palestine activism. Shame! Shame. Here in Melbourne, right here at the university closest to us right now, there's been 3 students who are being threatened with very serious discipline, including suspension, for protesting against Israel's bombardment of Lebanon. Shame! Shame. So what does all of this tell us? It tells us a few things about our rights. It tells us that under capitalism, there's no such thing as rights. We don't have any rights except for those that we fight for. The civil liberties that we have only exist because of decades of protest and strike action, and they're only maintained by the kinds of protests that we're out here doing today. This is a system which doesn't guarantee any human being safety. It doesn't guarantee any human being food, water, any of the basics to survive, and it doesn't guarantee any human being a voice. It's a system based on isolating people, on making people feel small, on benefiting a tiny, rich and powerful. And so that means that all of the rights that we supposedly have in this country, like the right to demonstrate, we have to continue to stand up for it, to come out, to insist whenever they have a bigger police presence here, we have to make our numbers bigger. So many of us have been arrested for demonstrating against the Land Forces Convention, and many of us are going to be in court on the 20th and the 22nd of November. But you know who's not going to court? The 1,000 people, 1,000 Australian citizens who are estimated to have fought in the Israeli Defence Forces since October 7 last year. More than 1,000 people. There's an article that came out in February this year where a Bondi man described his experiences of going from his high-flying job in Bondi to going over to Gaza, serving in a tactical unit on the front lines inside Gaza. He described eliminating targets. We all know what that means. Killing Palestinians. Shame. He described eliminating targets. There's photos of this man in that article, which is public for anyone to access. Photos of him inside a Palestinian child's room, captioned, "Here he is inside a Palestinian child's room." Shame. In this article, he describes how after months of serving inside Gaza, months of murdering Palestinians, he was considered such a great soldier by the IDF that he was asked to escort Benjamin Netanyahu inside Gaza, a man from Bondi. Shame. Have any of these people been arrested? No, not one. Not one Australian who has served in the Israeli Defence Forces has been arrested for genocide or war crimes. Well, every single one of them should be. So all of this shows us that the state in this country, the government, the parliament, the police who are here today, the military, all of them serve the same bosses. The rich, the powerful, and the imperialist warmongers all over this world who are determined to serve out the rights of all those striving for justice. But as Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without demand. And so we have to be here every single week demanding justice, demanding freedom, demanding the liberation of the Palestinians, and demanding the right not only for us to demonstrate, but for every single person on this earth to live in safety and equality and to live a good life. And so I want to end with a chant which describes exactly what I think we need, which goes, there is only one solution, Intifada revolution. 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 Thanks everyone, see you in the march.
Thanks, Jasmine. Not only have the people who went into land forces and served in the IOF not been charged, Daniel Andrews, the man who organised and put on the land forces conference, has now been given a Jerusalem medal for his services to Zionism. Daniel Andrews is a member of the socialist left, so-called, of the Labour Party. That is the same faction as Anthony Albanese. We know when Anthony Albanese retires, we know that he will be given the same awards. The same awards, because the Labour Party have proven themselves to be prepared to support Israel overseas and prepared to oversee brutal repression of Palestinian and pro-Palestine advocates here in Australia. Shame! 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 But they will not deter us. They will not deter us. So please look up the cases of these land forces activists. The 20th and the 22nd of November. Be there at the court. Your support really matters to them. It is always very uplifting when political prisoners or people charged with political crimes are supported by the community. So please be there for that. Okay, our last speaker before we march. Let me get his bio up. Our last speaker is Khalid Abbas. He is a young Palestinian man. He's a member of Uni Melb for Palestine and was one of the activists involved in the Uni of Melbourne camp. He's also a volunteer with the charity Olive Kids. Please make him welcome.
Hello friends, I'd like to start by acknowledging the wonderful and resilient people, the owners of the land in which we stand on today, the Wurundjeri, Wurrung and Boonwurrung people, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. And I would also like to acknowledge all of you wonderful people coming here Sunday after Sunday. One of these Sundays soon, we shall be standing here not to speak about our genocide, not to speak about war crimes. We will be here to celebrate our freedom, to celebrate our free Palestine. Friends, 393 days. 393 days of unrelenting genocide. 393 days of the erasure of neighborhoods, of lives, and of memories. But also 393 days of protests and canvass and of student mobilization. My colleagues and I have stood up to the University of Melbourne to end the ties with weapons manufacturers and Israeli universities. And I promise you, this work will not stop and we will not rest until they divest and end their ties. And this commitment goes beyond me and my fellow students at Melbourne Uni. We've mobilised and built allies the world over. We've found power in our just cause. We found power in standing up for the rights of our fellow Palestinian students. We found power in each other. Power that we shall never ever relinquish. But these 393 days have been extremely difficult for everyone, let alone us Palestinians. Growing up in a Palestinian household, we take that pride like no other. Being a Palestinian comes with expectations. It is true that as a Palestinian, you are either a doctor, an engineer, or a failure. It is also true that a child's first words are often "Free Palestine." It is when you realize that your identity is like no other, that the love for your homeland and the passion for your cause is galvanized before you can even learn to walk, that your identity comes with responsibilities, with keys to homes, where you and your generation will be in charge of the return of your people. And one where such a huge burden is carried with hope, carried with gratitude, and carried with love. Being a Palestinian, I can't help but think that it could have been me in Gaza right now. Floods of bullets and rockets, and droughts of food, water, and hope. This past week, we saw a rogue state that never fails to prove it is one. The decision to ban UNRWA is not only unprecedented in its outreach, it is also unprecedented in its cruelty. It serves as a reminder of the desperation that this genocidal state wishes to amplify the suffering of my people, and also a reckless act demonstrating the deep racist ideology that has become the norm of the leaders of this rogue state. Silence is not an option. Inaction is not acceptable. Our voices must be louder. Our actions must be stronger. And for the parents out there, please be generous with your stories, experience, and advice. Please don't instill fear in us, and instead amplify our energy and encourage us. And for the young people here today, and this applies for not just Palestinians, you are all just as Palestinian today. Our grandparents may have been a generation of exile, of trauma. Our parents' generation, the generation of rebuilding, resilience, and resistance. But our choice is clear. We shall be the generation of liberation. Let's educate ourselves on our history and our rights. Let's carry the stories of our grandparents with these keys of our homes and our hometowns. Let's mobilize and grow our numbers. Let's build our allies. Let's connect our universities, workplaces, and organizations. Let's write to politicians, to the media. We shall carry the stories of those who we lost, the dreams of those who seek justice, and the hope for a future where everyone, regardless of the color of their skin or the God they worship, can live with dignity and peace. The day we'll walk the streets as a free people is coming. The day that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is coming. We shall and we will see to it. Thank you. Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! We are all Palestinians! Thanks so much, Khaled. It was so important that he mentioned the plight of the Palestinian diaspora, the Palestinian refugee population, which until recently was one of the largest refugee populations in the world. Palestinian refugees, there are many of them in Australia right now, not just from wars in the past, but from the current onslaught. And we just got word this morning that there are 8 Palestinian men from Gaza who've been living and working in the community, who the government has told, ACO has contacted them and said They will be deported on Friday. Where will they be deported to? These men from Gaza. Will they be sent to North Gaza where Israel is trying to annihilate every man, woman and child? Where are they planning to send these men? One of them has already been picked up and placed in Villawood Detention Centre. So the comrades in Sydney are planning anti-deportation actions as we speak. We need to be ready. We need to be ready because this government has shown it has no heart. And so if anyone hears word of any Palestinian refugee under attack in Melbourne, please reach out and we'll be ready to organise. And everyone here has to be ready to mobilise. We cannot let people be deported to danger. We cannot do it. I'm wearing a t-shirt in 2013. The government murdered Iranian refugee Reza Barati. There was no justice for him and hundreds of other people. We cannot allow this government to murder more refugees. Enough is enough. And on that note, actually, I am reminded that next Saturday, there will be a demonstration organised by refugees here in Australia, over 8,000 of which are still languishing on temporary visas. They've been camping outside the Department of Immigration. They did not get justice. They were mobilising next Saturday, 2 o'clock, right here. So please support them. 2 o'clock next Saturday, right here, and then Sunday for the usual. All right, we are going to march. Take to the streets. Yeah, the rally next Sunday is for Sudan and Palestine. As I said, all right, let's take to the streets. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. From the sea to the river. From the sea to the river. Occupation is a crime. From Lebanon to Palestine. Occupation is a crime. From Lebanon to Palestine. Killing children is a crime. From Lebanon to Palestine. Stealing land is a crime. From Lebanon to Palestine. Albanese, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide. Penny Wong, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide. Joe Biden, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide. Kamala Harris, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide. Donald Trump, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
I've got a battery and a microphone.
Are you marching? We're packing up. So join us when you're done.
your university exams for this handwriting. And I said, well, you couldn't read what I
Well, you gave him the
wrote.
benefit of the doubt.
They gave me the benefit of the doubt. They couldn't find me.
There you go.
I'm not the battery. I just need the cord.
You don't need it.
I just only need the cord. I'm gonna get it back to her.
You want me to hold that?
Yeah. I'm gonna attach it to that bit.
Are people watching us now? Hello.
How are you today?
Not too bad. I think we're going to pack up now and finish early. Yeah. We're hungry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Yeah.
See you soon. We have a battery. Happy Halloween.
Palestine! Free Palestine! Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free!
free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! USA, how many kids did he kill today? Israel, USA, how many kids did he kill today? Israel, USA, how many kids did he kill today? Israel, USA, how many kids did he kill today? demand! Liberation, we demand! Liberation, liberation! Liberation, liberation! Palestine is our nation! Liberation, liberation! Palestine is our nation! Liberation, liberation! Liberation, liberation! Liberation, liberation! Liberation, liberation! Liberation, liberation! Palestine is our nation! Palestine is our nation! Palestine is our nation! Palestine is our nation!
إسرائيل out of Gaza! Israel out of Palestine! Israel out of Lebanon! Israel out of Lebanon! Now, Lebanon! Takbir! 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 مين الميت الميت؟ مين الميت الميت؟ مين الميت الميت؟ فلسطين عربية! فلسطين عربية! فلسطين عربية! فلسطين عربية! مين الميت الميت؟ مين الميت الميت؟ فلسطين عربية! فلسطين عربية! ومن غزة لبيروت! من غزة لبيروت! من غزة لبيروت! من غزة لبيروت! شعب واحد ما بيموت! شعب واحد ما بيموت! شعب واحد مش شعبين! شعب واحد مش شعبين! علوا 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 الصوت! علوا 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 الصوت! شعبك غزي ما بيموت! شعبك بيروت ما بيموت! مين الميت الميت؟ فلسطين عربية! فلسطين فلسطين! شعبك حق ما بيلين! واحنا شعب الجبارين! احنا شعب الجبارين! احنا شعب الجبارين! واحنا شعب الجبارين! We will fight until we win! 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 We will fight until we win!
just so everyone knows, there'll be a prayer session. It's on the side street over there. Free, free Palestine! 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 Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free the people, free their land! Free the people, free their land! Justice is our demand! Free the people, free their land! No peace on stolen land! No peace on stolen land! No peace on stolen land! Always was, always will be! Always was, always will be! We can be louder than that. This is stolen land that we own. Always was, always will be! Always was, always will be! If we could get everyone just to come through to fill up this space, we have a few more speakers to go. If we can all make our way over here. From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! From the sea to the
Again, give yourselves a round of applause. Make some noise. We will not be silent. 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 All right. 55 weeks. Is it 55? 56? It's been too long. It's been too long, but we will stay mobilized until we see liberation. Thanks again to all of you, to our drummers, to our medics team, to our marshals, to the Renegade audio crew who do this every week. It's a big setup, but they do it out of love and solidarity. Okay. We have a last speaker and then a wrap up. Our last announced speaker is Wasim Razvi. Wasim is a long-time advocate from the Muslim community. He's an imam and he's the founder of Australians Against Islamophobia. Please make him welcome, Wasim.
Assalamu alaikum. May peace be on all of you. The very reason we have all gathered is to demand peace for Palestinians, for Lebanese people, and all those living around the apartheid state. Let me call it
the Palestinians have lived through 13 months of intense, brutal genocide. On the contrary, we Australians have lived through the 13 months of betrayal and hypocrisy of our regime, the Australian government. The Israeli professor by the name Nurit Al-Hadam, she said and criticized the evilness of Israel in the last 12 to 13 months. She said that Israel has reached the unimaginable peak of evil. I say, Israel has surpassed the cruelty, the brutality, and the barbarity of Hitler's Nazi regime. I say, the baby killers have now entered what you can call the form of cannibalism and bestiality. There is no evil that they have spared. There is no atrocity that they have not perpetrated. In history, we had a figure by the name Pharaoh of Egypt. It was a regime over hundreds of years that committed atrocity after atrocity. And one of their cruel factors, one of their atrocities known was they would kill the children. They would target the children. By the same premise, Israel has now become the pharaonic regime of the 21st century for killing children with targeting them. As Loki said, we have now entered the Israeli imperialism period. It kills as it breeds. The very existence and survival of Israel now is on killing the Palestinian innocent people. And we all are aware now, it has now entered and crossed the border into Lebanon, and only God knows that how far they will engulf the entire Middle East into this war. But let us get a few things clear. You need to understand, when the brutality of the evil regime increases, it is a sign of their weakness. It is the sign of their end. It is a sign of their cowardice. And I want to tell you, and I want to congratulate everyone who is here. Your presence is shaking the land, the feet of the Tsarist entity. Your presence is pulling their legs down. Your presence is pulling their regime down. They are losing, not only in Jerusalem, they are losing in New York, they are losing in London, and they are losing right here in Melbourne. They are losing on every front. And in places where they thought they have strongholds. The land grabbers soon will see the earth is going to shrink on them. And I say, we need to turn this momentum into an action plan. We have been coming out for the last 13 months without any week. Every Sunday, hundreds and thousands and 10,000s of people have been coming to the city of Melbourne and in Sydney and across Australia. This is a sign of resistance from the far lands to bring victory to Palestine. Being a Muslim and being an Imam, I would like to put forward some principles that I have learned. The Almighty God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, says in the Quran in Surah chapter number 2, verse number 11, it says, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. The verse says, and when it is said to the evildoers, do not make terrorism, do not make mischief on earth, they say, we are peacemakers. I never thought in my life of 40 plus years that I would see this verse in a living capacity. Today, in the United Nations, the ambassador of Israel says that we are peacemakers. I could only see that this verse has come into its action, that the evildoers, when they are said to not create mischief on earth, they would respond and say, we are peacemakers. The whole world knows now who are the child killers. The whole world knows now who are the genociders. The whole world knows now who is the true terrorist state in this world. United Nations is the entity that actually acknowledged and accepted the apartheid regime of Israel as a legitimate state in 1948. You have heard of the proverb, biting the hand that feeds you. Today the same Israel, the ambassador of Israel in United Nations has said earlier this year, United Nations is a terror organization. Can you imagine Israel biting back the hand that fed it? And I warn you, I warn Australian regime, I warn the Australian government, I warn the Australian parliamentarians, you will soon see this illegitimate child, this illegitimate state, this apartheid regime will soon bite your own hand as well. Australia will face the opposition from Israel. Coming towards the last part, I want an action plan for us to take home. Federal elections are coming. We are seeing these governments, these two major parties, making false promises once again. We have seen what they could do in the last 4, 8, 12 and 20 years. We have seen what they have done in the last 50 to 75 years. We don't need any more stupid claims or promises. I would say, when you go to vote this time, when you are voting for federal election this time, remember that you cannot walk over the dead bodies, the corpses of the Palestinian children. More than 200,000 of them have been killed in the last 4, 8, 10 years. We cannot walk over the corpses. We cannot walk over Sidra's dead body with her legs blown off. We cannot walk over King Rajab's cold-blooded body, which the Israelis shot 360 times waiting for the ambulance to arrive to help and assist her. We cannot walk over. We cannot walk over the corpse of Reem's body where the head was blown off. We cannot walk past the millions of Palestinian refugees and say to them, I'm going to vote for you and vote for the same regime and vote for the same party that was complicit in genocide. We will not vote for these murderers, for these child killers, for those who have got blood on their hands. We will not vote for the Labour or the Liberal Party at all in this federal election. Israel has broken the international order. You need to try and understand the danger of this. The world has been surviving on so-called international order, laws and rules. We cannot imagine the barbarity that is going to happen across the world. This is not going to stop at the borders of Palestine. We're already witnessing the war entering into Lebanon, and it will move forward. Unfortunately, if we continue to allow those people of power who are sitting in the houses of power in Australian Parliament to continue to control us, then they will destroy this country, our country, our land as well. As those who came to this country before us, those who conquered this land before us, they destroyed the lives of the Aboriginal people. They will destroy the lives of the inhabitants once again. And the only way we can stop this is to make sure our vote counts. And we put this two-party system off the block, and we bring a hung parliament, we bring the independents, we bring the other parties which are ready to listen and who are ready to change the way Australian politics works. I conclude by saying what Malcolm X said. He said, nobody can give you freedom. Nobody can give you equality or justice or anything. If you're a man, you should take it. I say, if you are a pro-Palestinian, you should snatch it from the houses of power.
Thanks so much, Christine. I agree with that. The Labour Party relies on the passive support of so many migrant communities, working class people. They need to be sent a message. Okay, our last speaker is Noor. Noor is a staunch activist, organizer. She's been at the front of so many of the actions that have happened in the last 13 months. Please make her feel welcome as our final speaker.
Hello everyone. Come closer, gather closer. Community is in strength and power when we're close and we stand by each other. Don't ever, ever, ever let anyone make you forget that. We've spoken so many times about what's going on, but I genuinely believe that the power comes from within and out to be able to assist Palestinians. And if you can't assist our Aboriginal brothers and sisters, then what are we doing here? I want to talk about a couple of things, but mainly for the journalists in Gaza. When I first wrote this, the numbers since October 7 were 177 journalists killed. That number is now 179 and counting. In the deadliest period for journalists in modern history, at least 179 journalists have been killed in Gaza. The Zionist entity that is so-called Israel has maintained that the killing of journalists were unintentional. As a former journal and media analyst, I know the terrorist entity that is Israel is spouting lies, and that the killing of journalists in Palestine is a targeted strategy full of intent to maim and murder those that speak truth to power. Every journalist killed and the way they were killed is emblazoned in my mind. I will never forget. And I will never forgive. You cannot tell me Ismail al-Ghul's murder by a direct Israeli missile in a clearly marked press vest and his beautiful head disappeared from his body was unintentional. You cannot tell me his cameraman Rami Rifa'i, also killed in the same strike, was unintentional. You cannot tell me that the targeting of Wa'il al-Dahdouh and Samir Abu Daqqa by an airstrike was an accident. Samir Abu Daqqa bled for 5 agonizing hours before he died. Medics could not reach him because Israel continued to bomb around the vicinity where his beautiful body lay bleeding until his final breath. You cannot tell me the targeting of Hamza al-Dahdouh with a missile strike as he drove to cover the atrocities in Rafah in the south of Gaza was an unintentional act. You cannot tell me that Hassan Hamad, a 19-year-old journalist exposing Israeli atrocities in the north of Gaza to the world, was unintentional. His brother could only identify him from the remnants of his hair and scalp. His remains fit into a shoebox. You can never tell me Shireen Abu Akleh's murder was accidental. Not when an Israeli sniper shot and killed her while she was wearing a press helmet and vest. The shot was precise. I will never forget the day she was killed in Jenin. In a genocide happening before our eyes, where international journalists have not been allowed to report from the ground, Israel is intent. It is intent on stifling reporting from the Gaza Strip. Israel is hell-bent on stifling speaking truth to power. Journalists Anas al-Sharif, Hussam Shabbat, Ismail Abu Umar, Talal Arouki, Ashraf Sarraj, and Ala Salame are all in the north of Gaza. They are all reporting on the mass atrocities happening there, yet Israel has accused them of unfounded lies. These journalists are now a target in Israel's kill list. The coverage continues, is how Anas ends his broadcast. Palestinian voices will not be suppressed. Palestinian voices will not be suppressed. Over a year of brutality against Palestinians in Gaza, but we remain steadfast. Palestinian voices will not be stigmatized nor stifled. Hear us now, hear us every single day. For every single pissweak journalist that calls themselves a journalist in so-called Australia, hear us now. We will not be silenced. Stand up and stand up for your moral obligation as journalists to speak truth to power. Every single one of you as human beings has the moral obligation to keep raising Palestinian voices. Every single one of you has the moral obligation to boycott, divest, and sanction. Every single one of you has the moral duty to sanction Israel. The power starts from within each and every single one of you. Fuck the government, fuck the king, and fuck everything within Western. Free, free,
difficulties of life in Gaza, people are still standing up, even in the north, which is being strangled. And all around the world, people like Noor are organising and finding their power through this movement. So give her another round of applause. And remember and commit, we will be here next week. We have impressive speakers. We have the link with Sudan. We're going to have some Sudanese activists and students joining us. Most important of all, we've got solidarity with all of our struggles all around the world. Free, free Palestine! Long live Palestine! Long live Gaza! Long live the Intifada! Intifada, Intifada! Intifada, Intifada! Shame, shame, Labour, shame! Shame, shame, Joe Biden, shame! Shame, shame, anyone, shame! Free, free Palestine! And that's a wrap. Thanks so much, everyone. See you next week.